introverts have what I call the introvert battery, and extroverts tend to have this too, right? You have a battery and it gets depleted by certain activities, and you need to replenish that battery. Just introverts tend to be replenished by different activities and different kinds of people than extroverts do.
Introverts do not need to be louder. They need to be blank.
More present.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Humanize Your Brand podcast. We are super pumped to have our friend Goldie Chan on today's episode.
You are. I mean, and again, Rachel, we were just talking, like we haven't seen Goldie since 2019. So it's crazy to be able to kind of see where she's at, see what's going on, and be able to make sure that our audience gets to be able to know the amazing person that she is.
Exactly. Before we get into the conversation, I want to read her official bio. She is a keynote speaker, author, of the recently released Personal Branding for Introverts. We're so excited for that book launch for her. The founder of Warm Robots, an award-winning social strategy agency. She's known as the Oprah of LinkedIn. Wow. And helps leaders, teams, and creatives build brand visibility through real storytelling. And her 5 C's of personal branding framework: clarity, consistency, competency, confidence, and community. Definitely want to talk about that today. Through her keynotes, workshops, and content, she's reached millions. Her LinkedIn has 80 million plus views. And she's an internationally recognized Forbes column on personal branding and storytelling, which has nearly 10 million reads. And she got Journalist of the Year, holy smokes, last year in 2024. She's partnered with brands like Adobe and Microsoft. That's how I first saw who Goldie was. She's a writer for Archie Comics, which Josh is very excited to talk about today. And she's been featured in CNN, CNBC, Fast Company, you name it. So she's really an amazing human on boards, all sorts of boards, and is a proud Stanford alum and a cancer survivor, which, holy crap, I'm so glad that we passed that stage, and definitely want to just say thank you, universe, for us being past that journey, and want to talk a little bit about that as well today, Goldie, because you've had, holy smokes, a heck of a couple years. So thank you for being here.
Yeah. I'm really excited to be able to have a conversation today, Goldie. And, just like this is what we love, right? Being able to hang out with amazing humans that are really trying to add value to this world, not just monetize it. And, we've seen that from you over the years. And I think that's why Rachel and I were like, we've got to have Goldie on.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited to be here right now with y'all. I think that, yeah, from 2019 to now, I mean, a lot of things happened in my life, a lot of things happened in the world. So it's definitely been a journey since we last saw each other, and certainly a lot of doors have opened for me. A lot of intense things have happened with my health and my own personal life, but I'm so thankful and grateful to be here right now with y'all talking about books of all things, the most traditional media of all, which is kind of funny, right?
It is. Okay, let's just talk about that. So first of all, the journey of writing a book, as you mentioned on our little green room section here, really, it's a lot of work. Talk about this journey. Why did you write the book? What was your launch like? Because I think a lot of our listeners are curious about that author journey. Many are aspiring authors like myself or current. And what is the book about?
Yeah, so let's start with what the book is about, because I think the journey is much longer. So what the book is about. So everybody's like, "What is your book about?" I'm like, "Well, it is about personal branding for introverts." Yeah, it's
Something about branding where you have to actually say directly what it means.
Descriptive, very clear.
yeah, so
Compared
it's
to most people are like, it has this crazy title, and all of a sudden you're like, I have no clue what that means.
no idea what it means. So mine is really on how to increase your visibility in your work and your career as an introvert. But I've had extroverts also read my book and say that it's really helpful to get kind of the basic framework of how to build a personal brand and how to show up both online and offline. And it's funny to say that because I'm an introvert selling a book about introverts to introverts. And it has been a wild journey. So my book launch actually happened at the same time as Adobe Max. Adobe Max is Adobe's largest creativity conference. I was there as an ambassador. I would not necessarily recommend this, which is having a full week of other stuff on top of a regular book launch. So I just didn't sleep for a week.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was
As an
wild.
introvert, you need that time, right?
I need
To
that recharge time. So I talk about it a little bit in my book, but introverts have what I call the introvert battery, and extroverts tend to have this too, right? You have a battery and it gets depleted by certain activities, and you need to replenish that battery. Just introverts tend to be replenished by different activities and different kinds of people than extroverts do. So yes, the book launch went really good. I actually wore a sweatshirt that was white on the sleeves, and people just came, and I had Sharpies with me and people just signed my sweatshirt. So I have this beautiful memento of my launch day and couple of days where people just were signing this sweatshirt and just wishing me luck. And it's nice to have a piece of physical media. And I think that's cool because I think so many people now they do their book launches completely online, which absolutely makes sense, but it was nice to have kind of in-person-y buzz around my book and be able to talk about my book in person.
No, that's awesome. And I mean, is that like one of the secrets, right? To be able to go in, like instead of you having to go to people, they come to you as an introvert. I mean, like that's as an introvert, most people will be very scared to go, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do a book launch in person, and I'm going to have people come up to me all day long and sign my shirt. I mean, that seems like the opposite of what would fuel you.
Right. So I think as an introvert, it almost made it easier because everybody knew that I had this shirt that they could sign. So people would just come up to me, especially introverts throughout the day who are other Adobe ambassadors, and they would say, "Okay, I saw that you had posted, we had a group chat. I saw that you posted in the group chat, you're going to wear this shirt, I can sign it." So I'm actually an introvert. Normally I wouldn't have come up to you and said hello, but I'm here now and I'm going to sign it. And I was like, I love this. I didn't realize that it would give people permission to talk to me in a way that felt very low effort and low friction. So I'm so glad that it worked out because it was really just me experimenting. So if one person had signed my shirt, I'd be like, okay, well, that was an interesting experiment. But I'm so glad I got, I think, like 100 signatures on my shirt. And it was very cool. I think I handed out probably over 200, bookmarks, keychain stickers during that time. So it was a lot of passing stuff out too. I'm a big fan of physical media and handing out old school media too. I think that we sometimes overlook this too when we're thinking about our marketing.
totally. And in many ways, COVID has brought it back, I feel like, because now with everyone working, well, not everyone, but a lot of us are working remotely, prefer to work remotely. You're not getting this much swag. Layoffs are happening, whatever you name it. Like some of that stuff isn't happening, these experiences. So it's funny because we're making some swag as well for this
Oh,
podcast.
yay!
Yeah. And you'll be getting it's for our
Yay,
guests.
thank you.
We're going to have it for this very reason because I was like, it's like a little remembrance,
Yeah.
and people love to like, come home and, oh, this is for
But
me.
it's got to be good swag because, like, come
Okay,
on.
but like, what classifies as good swag? Okay, Goldie, tell us. Like, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing that I have so much of, that I don't know that I necessarily want more of just because I literally have, I think, 25 of these from LinkedIn, so I ended up giving away a bunch of them, is the water bottle, which before I loved the water bottle, like I love water bottles. I would buy water bottles. And then now I think so many brands are like, this is the thing to give away. I will say another thing that I personally don't keep is the cheap pen. Like it is funny because a Bic pen is better than some of the cheap pens that I get. And there's nothing wrong with a Bic pen, right? So it is really funny. Sometimes I'll get these like free pens and I'm like, I feel bad because what I want, right? I want like this, I want like a nicer pen, I want, so it's not the actual object itself, it's the quality of the object. So those, to me, hot take, those are the 2 that normally I don't keep as much of anymore because I have so many of them, the free pens and the water bottles.
All right, everyone. I hope they're listening. Do not give Goldie any
It makes
more cheap pens. Like,
sense.
it's funny you talk about the swag too, Goldie. Like water bottles, we still have, and I'm surprised we didn't grab it with you being here from that 2009 South by Southwest event. We still have the coffee cup
2019.
that 2019, whatever. Yeah, but that they actually gave away there. I don't even know if they gave it away.
I think we kind of
I
took
think we
it,
kind of took it.
the LinkedIn
The
mug.
LinkedIn coffee mug.
Well, I knew because I knew some of the people.
Right,
That's how
right,
we,
right.
yeah, and we took it, and that was such a good quality mug. It's
Okay,
lasted.
I still have my link. Is it like the little mug that has like the little square LinkedIn
Yeah,
logo on it?
Yeah.
yeah,
I still have one of those. So
yeah.
that, and also I will say, like, of course, mugs, right? Like, I think that there's so many at this point. I have to be really careful about my mugs, but it's so nice. I will say this: I'm weird about my mugs, and that I really like the mugs. I think it's so nice to get a mug with a logo. There's something cozy about that.
Yep, we're right there with you. Yeah, we're on the same page. We actually argue about which mugs we eat. The other day, Rich was like, "You're using my mug." I'm like, "Bro, come on." Yeah, no.
Well, it's a special one. This one my dad and I got on our trip, and it
Oh
has
my
a little.
gosh. That's
So
so cute. Yeah, I
So,
think good
what do we
mugs
bring
are
with
yeah,
you?
so
Yeah,
nice. They're so
yeah.
cozy. There's also so many different things that you can give away as swag. I'm just looking over here. So one of the things that I'll show you that I've been giving away is this. So I human designed, I've been giving away bookmarks, and on the back they have my QR code, so it links to more information about my book, but these are just free. I've been giving them out, especially when I go do things at bookstores, and that's been really popular because if you're at a bookstore, you probably want bookmarks.
bookmark. Yeah.
Well, do me a favor, real quick. You showed it quickly. Put that QR code up to the screen so when people are watching on YouTube and everyone else, take out your phones, everyone, and make sure you get a picture of this so you can get the
Yes,
access. So, thank
and
you.
we'll have it in all the notes. Okay,
Amazing.
Goldie. So one thing Josh and I were talking about was the green hair. One, you've had it for a lot of years.
Yes.
Like, how do you keep it up? How, I mean, as a female, like, how do you keep up the green? How often do you have to get it done? And do you feel like this has been a piece of you building your personal brand? Like, you made that very intentional choice. Talk about that from a visual identity standpoint. Why did you choose green? Why do you keep it going?
The book screen.
The book is how impactful has that visual been? Because there's people listening, they're talking about personal brand, and I say a lot, it how people perceive you matters.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what you wear doesn't matter, what you say, like it all matters, right? What matters though is that you're attracting the people that you want to attract and that you're getting, the vibe that you want to give off. So tell us a little bit about the journey to the green hair and if you'll continue with it into 2026.
Oh my gosh, what a big question. So I'll start with the beginning story. So we obviously met kind of into the early part, I would say, of having green hair. So in 2017, when I blew up on LinkedIn, when I started creating all those videos on LinkedIn, it was so interesting, because I had been changing my hair color very frequently right before that, and I happened to have green hair at the time. And green actually genuinely, so genuinely is my favorite color. I love green, so I'm glad it worked out that way. Um, but I blew up when I had green hair, and people were starting to use green emojis when they'd reference me on LinkedIn, which I thought was really fascinating. So, at least for I would say from 2017 to 2019, I had green hair really as a function of my brand and thinking, like, oh, this makes it easier for people to remember me. I'm going to keep this, but I'm probably going to eventually change it. And what's so funny about my green hair journey is I think towards the end of 2019 got really frustrated with having green hair. I started doing like different gradients of hair. I started doing all this other stuff with my hair, but it was always green, like at least partially green. And then of course, what happened in 2020 happened, and we were all inside and we weren't really seeing each other except on digital screens. And I was doing a little bit less upkeep with the green, but I have to say that when I got diagnosed with breast cancer in 2022, that actually changed how I feel about my green hair because with the chemicals, I couldn't actually dye my hair. And my hair, the way it works is I need to go in every couple of months and get the roots done, but I kind of upkeep the color in between on my own. So I couldn't go in every 2 months because I was in treatment and you can't do chemicals and all these other things. And so I remember because I was in this treatment where I could not have the green hair versus before, the green hair had made me start to feel a little frustrated because it started to feel a little bit like a should. Like I should have green hair. Nobody likes a should, and I think nobody likes a can't. Like, these are 2 things, and it was funny because they pushed me kind of in opposite directions of feeling about my green hair. So the should, I started to feel really frustrated, confined by having green hair, and I was honestly in 2020 probably going to change it to a different color, and I just didn't, right? But in 2022, I felt so sad that I couldn't, like, there was a no, you just absolutely cannot have this green hair. And so the moment that I was able, I think in 2023, 2024, I forget exactly when I could re-dye my hair again, I went back to green just because it was so nice to be able to have colored hair again. It was just like a mark of my own personal health. Um, and now I just have the green hair again, and I kind of just indefinitely, I think, at this point, have the green hair until I feel like it becomes another should. Right now, it's a I want to, and that is better than an I should. So it's not necessarily even for my personal brand at this point. It's more of a I enjoy it. I want it, which I think is the best place to come to from your personal brand. I'm sure you both see this. There's a ton of folks out there who have really gimmicky things around their personal brands. I remember I met somebody and he wore a very specific brightly colored wig every single time, and was just like kind of dressed in what I would say is a costume, right? And I know for both of you and for my brand is not a costume. Your brand and the way you visually brand yourself is not a costume. It's just the way you express yourself, right? And I think when you get into the costume zone, it gets a little dangerous. It gets a little dangerous in that every single time you appear, you have to be in costume, which just by nature means you're in character.
100%. And we've all seen those people on stage, right? That we've known that are they're like this character on stage, and then you meet him afterwards, and you're like, "Whoa, that's two different people. This is you're putting on a show, and like it's not authentic." And so,
Right, and of course, when I meet, say, magicians, right? When I meet magicians and they're actually a character on stage, they do magic, they come off stage, they're no longer doing that character. I love that. But I think in our tiny little universe of maybe the marketing branding world, when I see that kind of caricature or that kind of performance, I think just how exhausting. But also say exactly what you said. When the person comes off stage and likely they are just less bubbly, less enthusiastic, less cheerful. They're less of those elevated elements. Then I think that it's harder to have a human connection with that person. You just don't connect with them on that level because you know that they were being a persona and you know that all of the content they put out is a completely different persona. And I don't want to judge in other categories outside of our marketing branding universe because of course there's places where it makes sense to have personas and that's quite lovely, but it's nice I think to be as human as possible, especially in this world where so many things are automated, automated to death, I would say.
speak the truth. Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
it's I won't allow my ADHD to kick in and ask why. When you mentioned that every time I meet a magician, I'm like, how many magicians are you meeting on a regular basis? So I won't go down that
You know,
path.
Okay, really quickly, I live in Los Angeles, and that is self-explanatory in and of itself. So if I said I met any category performer, you'd be like, okay, that makes sense. You've met so many Cirque du Soleil performers, but I've met so many magicians because I, on occasion, not frequently, have gone to Magic Castle
I was going to
I
ask.
was
Yeah.
just gonna,
in
because I
Los
grew up in
Angeles.
LA.
Right,
Yeah.
which is in LA. So if you know LA,
Still
it's really
Oh,
around.
fun.
yeah.
It's still
Mhm.
around. It's basically the magicians hangout. And if you go there, and I'm not saying I'm like close personal friends with magicians, but I just met magicians because of that. Because I'll go there and I'll talk with the performers, or performers will come up and talk to you. So
Well, I'm glad that I said something because those little things catch my eye. It's like, wait a minute, like well, every time I meet a magician, I'm like, yeah, that just comes out of my mouth all the time. So
and
yeah,
once again, I think that's a function of living in Los Angeles. I will say I met very few magicians when I grew up in the Bay Area.
okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
there you go. Yeah. So one thing I'd love for you to talk about as an introvert, and I mean, you went to Stanford, amazing. And you've gotten these amazing brand partnerships, and you have the Forbes column. These are things that for many of us we aspire to have. Can you talk a little bit about the brand partnership side and how you've been able to create those opportunities for yourself? And also, how do you see it maybe evolving? Do you see it happening more with brands, or changing in 2026?
Yeah. So, first of all, I want to start with saying I actually left Forbes last year when I was a senior contributor. But very thankful for Forbes, opened a lot of doors. They were wonderful to work with, but it gives me more time to focus on writing books. And I think that's maybe the heart a little bit of what you're asking. And a little bit of what we're talking about here is sometimes you can have these opportunities that, especially other folks, are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have that. Never leave, right? When I hear the phrase like never leave, I think,
Goldie Chan.
but right? No, I'm just also like, yeah, goalie's out, number one. But also, I think when I start to hear that frequently, I think I start to actually reevaluate, is this the right opportunity for me? Or is this a shiny opportunity that a lot of people want? And also, maybe they don't know what it's like on the inside to be writing that many articles a month, quite frankly. And it takes away from all the other time I have to write books and write Archie comics, right? And do lots of other fun writing. So that's a little bit how I'm thinking about, especially my 2026 and the brand partnerships that I work with. So, yes, I've worked with all of these amazing big brands. I'm very thankful. Over the last couple of years, like I shot a commercial with Microsoft, which was so cool. We shot it about my writing journey. I work very frequently with Adobe. I'm very embedded in the Adobe ecosystem as an Adobe ambassador. They're still one of my favorite brands. When they originally reached out to me in 2017, 2018, I forget which year, to work together, I was like, you are my top 5 dream brands. And to this day, and I will say this is how well they treat their ambassadors and how cool the product is. It is 2025. I still see them as one of my top 5 dream brands.
That's amazing.
That's
And
really
I don't
cool.
feel that
Somebody we not
way.
seen that from. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't feel that way about some of my other top 5 dream brands that I had
Yeah,
when I first started out in 2017, I'll just be honest, right? But
yeah.
Adobe has stayed that. I'm so thankful to be working with them. So for me, that's one of the brands I will for sure be taking with me into 2026. I'm really thankful for them. But that's a little bit how I'm starting to think about opportunities. I get a lot of inbound requests in my LinkedIn inbox, as I'm sure you do too, and through email. And especially because you do a podcast, for those of you listening, doing a podcast, and I say this as somebody who doesn't have a podcast, doing a podcast is a great way to open doors for opportunities. And I'm sure both of you can speak to that and how helpful it is to have an avenue that you own, that you have control over. And I think that's so amazing and powerful. And for myself, I think about all the brand deals that come to me, and some of them very small, right? Some of them a little bit larger. And really, when I think about brands that I partner with, especially for the remainder of this year, and we don't have that long for this year. Um, I think about, is this aligned with what my audience wants to see? And then also, is this aligned with what I want to actually promote? And that's how I think going into 2026. That's a little bit how I think about brands too, is this someone I want to work with maybe a little bit more long term? And is this a relationship I want to cultivate over time? Or is this a one and done? And I'm only human. So I've done partnerships with brands that are one and done as well, just to test it out too. But I love thinking about brands that I work on a long term scale with, like the Adobes of the world. Yeah.
Well, and I think what you're talking about there is relationships,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I think that's what makes your brand stand out is one that who you are online is who you are offline, but you're creating a relationship. And Josh and I have that same mentality with our clients, with brands that we're working with. It's like, no, I don't want to do a post for whatever $1,000,
They
what
get
that kind
they
of.
get sent so
Yeah,
much
like,
stuff.
no,
Yeah.
I don't really wanna do that, but, like, I'm a long-term partnership, and if I think that product could genuinely be good for our business and others, then, like, that feels really aligned, like an aligned spiritual kind of action too, and I'm hearing that out of you too, Goldie, just observing you, through the journey that you've gone through. It's also been a reevaluation for you too, right? Is like
Yeah, I would say at the core, it's made me rethink a lot of things that you met me in 2019, so you know that I've generally been really thoughtful about who I partner with already, but I think it's really made me reevaluate who I thought was a helpful or good partnership, whatever that means for me personally, from 2019 to now, because now it's been so many years. So now it's been a good time. The last few years I've been reevaluating who I want to continue to partner with, and then also what are my bigger career goals. So I love writing, so I hope to continue to write. So for me, I'm diving kind of more fully into the world of writing, and that doesn't mean I won't continue to do brand partnerships, but it also means that I have my priorities a little bit different, and it's a little bit different than I have so many people I meet who are just like, why aren't you doing more brand partnerships, more brand partnerships, like more, doing more and more? And I have such a limited just physical energy, if I'm honest, and then limited mental energy. And if I partnered with every single brand that reached out, as once again, as I'm sure you get this all the time too, first of all, your feed would be just only ads. Everything you
You
post
mean
and
like
every
most of everyone else's LinkedIn page, when you look
yeah.
at it, it's just
Yes.
everyone talking about their shiny things that
Their
you're like,
shiny thing, it would be just ads, it'd be just oh, how cute. It would be just what you are trying to sell, sell, sell all the time. And I say that ironically because 'cause I'm in the middle of promoting my book, so right now my feed is going to be just book related. It's going to be the one thing I'm trying to sell. But just in general, outside of once this book stuff, kind of calms down, that won't be the case, right? But I think it's also helpful to have genuine pieces that come from you, that's your story, that's what you wanna share because that's once again how people will connect with you.
but Goldie, I think this is the biggest thing I want everyone to understand. It's a massive shift and difference in what you're doing, talking about your book, compared to what we've all seen over the years on LinkedIn. Because we'll
not
talk,
just LinkedIn.
well, not just on LinkedIn, but we'll talk about LinkedIn because again, we all play in that space,
Yeah.
and you get some people like, well, I hate LinkedIn because it's all. When you're talking about your book, you're telling a story. You're educating, you're inspiring people, you're inviting them in. You're giving them, like one word you said earlier, you're giving them permission. And I think that's a really big thing. It's a shift. And in today's world with being a content creator, I think we have so much more responsibility in the world of AI right now because everyone thinks they are a content creator or an expert because they can all produce 10,000 pieces of content every hour of the day. And that human, visible, like real, that raw, that type of information is going to be so much more important now than ever. I think that's why you stand out so well and why what we stand for is, how do we actually humanize this? How do we actually really show the people and invite them into our world? And I seen your posts on your books. And it's not about like, hey, buy my book. It's not a, hey, look at me. I just published a book. I've been an Amazon #1 bestseller for the last, 2 weeks. Like, I love that about that you've accomplished that, but that's not what's in there. And
She's a storyteller.
right,
I think
right.
that's the
And I,
big,
I
yeah,
think that's so, so important that
and
I'm
really hard
worried
to
that
do.
we're going to lose that so much with where everything is going. What are your thoughts, right? Like with AI, with everything going on, like what do you
Oh
think
my god,
people
I
can
have
do
so
with
many
that?
hot takes on AI, so
Sure,
I'm ready to
me too.
share some of them. Yeah, I think, there's a common term around AI, and then I'll share the term that I've been using around AI. So the common term, and I need to do actually a post on this, which I think I will do soon, but the common term I see around AI is the slopification of the internet. It's AI slop, right? Slop is what pigs eat that is usually a mix of a slurry of a bunch of different just kind of leftover materials. That's where the word slop comes from. And I love words. So, you know, but I think that AI, and I should definitely do a longer form thing on this, AI is leading to the blandification of the internet. That's what I believe. Everything is becoming so bland, like, because everybody's inputting the same request to be like, "Dear ChatGPT, can you make me a post that is like 3 lessons I learned as a product manager, over the course of this week," but they're not putting in any of their own personality into it, any of their own actual learning lessons. So what it ends up being is the same bland post that you see in like this person, you see in this person, you see in this person, you see in this person. I'm not going to call them out, but I was recently talking over this last month with somebody and I said, okay, why don't you share a post and I'll like, share a post about some of the learning lessons that we talked about and I will reshare that. And I was just like, share it today and I will reshare it. Cause when I say I'll do something, it is like literally me. It's not somebody on my team. It's like actually me going on my LinkedIn and clicking that reshare button. But I went and I actually also read it because it's not my team, it's me reading when I say those things, and it was just 100% AI generated, and it was so bland, and it had nothing about what we actually talked about at all, which I thought was very fascinating, and it had all of these, like, little AI markers, so the formatting was a little bit odd, and, the word choice was a little bit odd, and I could tell that this person just literally cut and pasted from ChatGPT or whatever AI, don't wanna judge, don't wanna vilify the only AI out there because it's not the only AI out there, but it was, like, clearly just a not a well-generated post and not a post that then they looked at afterwards and were like, "I should clean this up a little bit." It was just like I almost expect at the end to have the little request like, "Would you like to would you like me to, like, make this into a more" the AI at the end what they ask the other prompts.
I've seen
Um,
emails like that where I'm like, wow, you didn't take
and they
time
didn't
out
even
to actually
cut
read
and
what you
paste that,
copied.
so
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting because I told her, like, "This is a personal favor I'm doing for you. I will, reshare this. I will help you." And they couldn't even be bothered to just write literally just a sentence of their own writing. And when I see that, I think, that's just a shame because I would, at this point, rather see the slightly mistaken, slightly misworded um, versions of posts that feel really human. And I'll say this, I accidentally wrote in one of the posts that I wrote, I think this last week, so the word like fully, I wrote fullu, like F-U-L-L-U, and I didn't notice till later. And I just left it in there because I was like, well, that's human. That's human. And I called out later because I noticed it later, and somebody was like, oh, well, then I know that you wrote this post because it actually has like a very human mistake to like hit the U instead of the Y because they're very close to each other on the keyboard. So you also know that that's like a very human typing error. And I think we're
Are we
losing
gonna
that.
move into a time where it's okay to have spelling
Well,
mistakes
let's be
now?
careful. If
Like,
we say that, all the
Yeah.
marketers are going to pick this up
yeah,
in
then
two
I'll get
seconds, and then we're going to have marketers go
misspell
misspell
I mean,
all
things.
I
over it.
think that's what is fascinating to me, I'll say this, is that some marketers are already putting that into their prompts, is they're put in like a little bit of a mistake so it'll look more human. But I think that there is some sort of gut feeling. I don't know if you get this, but I get a gut feeling when I read stuff, and even if it has a spelling error in it, there's some posts that I read which are so like, the word I wanna use is stilted. Like, you read it, it's like, "Da, da, 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 da."
Oh my god, everything AI is like that. It's super abrupt. It's not like full sentences.
But people are
Yes,
so
lots of dashes.
scared too to be polarizing in this world, and that the easiest lift is to use AI. And we, the three of us, we all know that as human beings, and you've alluded to this multiple times in our conversation today, that we make decisions based on some degree of love or hate. We do not make decisions being indifferent to things. And AI writes indifferent because it doesn't want to offend one person or the next person and go through. And so that's where you get all this stuff and there's no
Unless
emotion in
you train it. And even when you do train it, it's still,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, even and you can train, you can just keep training over time, and it of course, it gets smarter, and I would say that if you absolutely, uh, have to use it, please at least train it.
Yes.
And then read what it writes.
No, we use AI. I mean, we're
Yeah.
that we believe in. Listen, we work in Microsoft and Adobe. I mean, from a technology standpoint, artificial intelligence, machine learning, it's this is not new, right? And we all need to understand the power of this technology and use it, especially as business owners, right? Small businesses are the ones that are going to be, in words from John Azra, there's going to be mass carnage because we interviewed him the other week. Small businesses, many are going to be eaten up because, and so
Well, the founder of Anthropic just this weekend did an interview and he said that at more than half of all low level white collar jobs will be wiped out within the next year and a half to 2 years. That's his prediction. And I mean, that's a massive shift.
it's scary to hear, and I think it's also one of those things like what we're talking about today is so important, right? Is finding that story, putting yourself out there in whatever that unique way is for you, and to also like be kind of old school about it. Like you're saying, you like to go and write. And before we have a couple rapid fire questions, but we have to talk like for a second about the writing you've been doing with the comic books, Archie, because Josh is a big.
Well, be careful on big because like I know Archie comics and I go through it, but like I if we ask too many questions, I know the topical
Okay, so
aspect.
he knows Marvel very deep in DC.
Yeah,
Well, I'll
Goldie's
say
read
this,
the entire.
I'm team Betty. Are you team Betty or team Veronica?
I had to go with Betty too because Veronica's a little, yeah. I mean, but I was telling you
There,
too,
I gave you the easiest question.
a
There
good
we
friend
go,
of
there we
mine, Marisol
yeah,
Nichols, played the mom of Veronica on
right,
Riverdale.
right.
So, like, it's
It
I was going to
that's
say Veronica, but I don't know.
there's
well,
no wrong
Veronica's a little
answer.
more like she's backstabby.
Oh, okay. No, I don't want Veronica. See, I know nothing. So
Betty
tell us
is
a little bit.
Betty is the girl next door. So the archetype is Betty is the girl next door. Veronica is, I would say, the glamorous, daughter of a very wealthy man. So wealthy inheritus? I don't know what that word is.
Got
I
it.
was going to
Um,
say kind of edgy, it's like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
so that's
good.
the archetype that they've had since, like, what, the 1950s or something, so it's fascinating to see that continue over time. So I will say that I've been writing for Archie now for a little while. It's been so fun because I used to read Archies when I was a little kid, and I would, like, go through those cardboard boxes that had, single issues of comics. You buy them for a dollar or something, and I love comic books, and Archie was one of those comics that I genuinely loved growing up. And so it is so wonderful to be able to write comics. It's actually also for the younger generation. It's really fun to write stuff for kids because I think we all play in the world where we're writing a lot of stuff for adults, which totally makes sense. But it's so fun to write stuff that is kids safe, that teaches a lesson. Like I wrote one that was a fairy tale that was about being different and accepting differences. So basically, one of the taller characters in Archie goes over to this medieval village, and everybody makes fun of her because she's so tall, especially Veronica. It's a little mean streak. Um, and so this is the story, and they make fun of her because she's tall. But then they realize, oh, she's tall and she looks really different. But then they realize, oh, but she's wearing like these cool fashions, right? Her style is so different and very cool. And then all of a sudden, like Betty basically, is really nice and reaches out and says the nice thing. And everybody realizes, like, oh, she's like different, but in a cool way. And then, of course, everybody starts copying her, which is what happens, right? Everybody makes fun of them and they start to copy. So, the moral of the story being like, well, different isn't always so bad, especially if they are, different might be cool. You just don't know it yet. So that's the moral of the story. I love being able to write these like very cute stories about friendship, about accepting people who are different, right?
Yeah, I love that. And did you do creative writing before?
I used to do a little bit of creative writing. So at one point, I'm also in the Producers Guild. At one point, I also wrote actually a I would say serious drama that was on like it was on YouTube, and it was like this financial drama, and it almost got picked up by a major network, which was pretty cool. So I was a co-writer on that. So just like one of the side things I just do for fun is I do creative writing on the side.
And we can see you light up. I love seeing, because it's like you were talking about before too, like releasing what isn't serving you and doing more of these things. And we could see that
Yeah.
energy in you too. And it's such a great lesson for listening or watching, right? Like the more we understand who we are and we do these things that naturally light us up, more of that keeps generating. And that light also really comes through in the
What
work.
do you mean? We don't just create content for content's sake because all the marketers told us.
Right.
I mean, that I need to put out 500 pieces of content a day.
It's about
Come on.
quality, and it's not just like, oh,
And this is what this is funny because that's what I have to tell people is when I was making those daily videos, and I'm sure you remember those daily videos. When I made those daily videos, AI didn't exist. Not AI in the context we know it as today didn't exist. And that was almost, I think, 95% me doing all the shooting and all the editing. And they weren't maybe the most complex edits in the world, but it was AI free. Like there was no AI that I was using in those to create those things. And then I think now it would be so easy to be like, please make 800 daily videos. And you just do that. And maybe it takes like a day for it to do it, but they're done in a day. And then they just have 800 AI generated videos. And I think there's something lost in the handicraft of it all and the person of it all.
Well, they don't get the value that it actually takes, the energy, the effort. I mean, it's the same thing when I started my first company in 2004. I mean, what I had to do then versus what someone in the younger generation could do now, they can have a company spun up in less than 5 minutes. And and they don't understand the value that it takes and the energy to be able to build those things. And I think that we're losing that in this generation, especially with being able to create content, how you show up, how you represent. And if we don't stand for something, then what do we stand for at all? And it's Bill Gates said it many years ago. Content is king. Rachel and I, that's gone now, right? It's quality is queen, right? Like, how are you? What's the quality of how you're showing up? The quality of your relationships, the quality of what you care about.
Well, because you can't duplicate, or it's much harder to duplicate the amazingness of both of you in person here making this podcast, right? Because you could duplicate, of course, something where it's, a bunch of stick figures or something like that. Maybe you could create that, but it's so much harder when it's you, especially you on camera or you doing the work. People just resonate with seeing that hard work put in. I think that's just such a human thing. We just love seeing other people doing the work and being present. I think that really matters.
Yeah.
it does.
Say this one last thing, just because if you don't know him, he's a good friend of ours. Just because you're talking the comic book world, Gareb Shamus, he's the founder of Comic Con, and
Oh.
amazing human being. We'll definitely have to introduce you with everything that you're doing.
I mean, I
And stuff.
definitely go to, San Diego Comic-Con,
Yeah,
not every year, but almost every year, and certainly for a lot more years, I'd say prior to 2020.
Yeah.
And I cosplay too. So this past year I did Zoe from K-pop Demon Hunters
Yeah, okay.
and made my partner do mystery. And we got interviewed for local news, which was really fun because they were like, "Why are you dressed up like these characters?" And I was like, "Oh, it's fun, you know?"
I love that.
Well, I think
Having
that's
fun.
what's going to be so important, right? Because one thing he was telling me, Goldie, is we are going to have a divide where we're going to see movies, comics, TV, everything. It's going to be AI made and then human made, and we're going to pay a premium for that human made. He's like, I see it coming down the line. He's like, I've been in this industry for so many years. And he's like, pay attention right now. You will see the people that are taking the energy, the time, the effort, the thought, the caring that they're putting into content. Because yes, AI will be there. There will be people. He mentioned he goes, look, if Chris Hemsworth doesn't do an AI generated version of himself, he will miss out on opportunities. But then you will have the human version as well that kind of comes in, and and we'll see that shift. So this is what we love about you and how you're showing up, and you know that getting back to the physical, like going not only to be able to be at the Comic Con and dress up and that the human element of it, but going back into the books, being able to write the comics and being able to make sure that the emotion is there, because we will be divided. I hope the three of us, I don't hope, I have no doubt the three of us will be on the human made side.
Yes, absolutely.
So as we wrap up today, this amazing conversation, couple rapid fire. Okay, complete this sentence. Introverts do not need to be louder. They need to be blank.
More present.
Hmm. Mhm. Comic book twist. Which comic or cartoon character has the best personal brand to you?
I have to say this because we just talked about this. Rumi from K-pop Demon Hunters.
I mean, didn't they just didn't their album go triple platinum or something
Yes.
like that without them
She has
ever
a
performing
great
it
personal
live?
brand. She has a great
Yeah,
personal brand. As a fictional character,
Crazy.
great personal brand.
I love it.
What's like one of your favorite brand campaigns you didn't create, but you wish you did?
Oh my gosh, there's so many good ones right now. Um, I was just in New York and I'm going to no, I know. This is it. Nike is doing a soup stall in China right now. That's recovery soup for runners. And on top of that, in Chinese culture, we usually use these ceramic spoons, right, instead of metal spoons. And they made the spoons into a swoosh.
Oh,
Well, you got me there.
love that.
If if we were in my office, you would see that I have an entire shoe wall. I'm
What?
allowed during our podcast. I put one of my pairs of shoes every podcast.
Please look
If there
this
was a different
campaign
one.
up
Yeah,
because it is and it's so smart because once again, it's a recovery stall for runners using
that's
culturally
awesome.
appropriate, right, Chinese soups, but they
Wow.
have the soup spoon literally a ceramic arch and you drink
Oh,
out of the ceramic arch. So every soup spoon you take is branded.
wow.
Well, now I know I need to be able to
So
find that
smart.
soup spoon and send it over to Golden if we can.
Somehow. There we go. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Goldie. Everybody, personal branding for introverts. Go follow her on LinkedIn, Goldie Chan. All that will be in our show notes. We just so appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Thank you
I
so much.
so
Gold.
appreciate spending the time. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
If today's episode sparked something in you, you don't have to keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who's building something with heart. And hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.
If you're ready to humanize your brand now and show up with soul, grab our free guide, 3 Hidden Signals at standoutauthority.com/3, the number 3, hidden signals. We'll see you soon.